Look, man, I feel like, one thing we really got to start doing as a society, as a generation, is, looking at people for their soul, you know, for their relationship with God, for, their thought processes, for the way they think, for their values, their standards, instead of just looking at, the physical aspect of them, instead of looking at what they can give you, what they can do for you. Like, really get to know a person. I'm tired of the surface level relationships. Like, I feel like that's old now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like as a society, bro, we got to start forming true connections instead of transactional relationships. We got to learn how to love unconditionally instead of loving conditionally. Because today, bro, there's so many people out here that look at others only for what they can gain. Whether it be lustfully, whether it be money, whether it be status, opportunities, favors. And I feel like not a lot of people really look at other people, on a deeper level. Not a lot of other people don't want to understand people's souls anymore. People don't want to understand why people think the way that they think or they do the things that they do. Like, I feel like we've got away from that a little bit. You got to start valuing people for who they are, deep down. Like I've always told y'all before, like, I feel like you don't have to change for anybody. You know what I'm saying? You should be yourself around anybody, just like your authentic self. And if somebody doesn't like you, somebody doesn't like who you are deep down, then that just isn't the right person for you. You know what I'm saying? If you're in a relationship or a friendship where it's become transactional, like, that's only gonna, lead you to stress. That's only gonna lead you to be frustrated because you feel like you're getting used, or you feel like, you're using other people. So I feel like we got to start valuing people for who they are, for their true selves. And we got to find ways, to love that, and to love them for who they are, for their character, for their heart, for their soul, for their thought processes, for the way they think, like, all of that, bro. And not just what they can give you, physically, or they can give you money wise or status wise. Like, bro, there's a danger, in using people, like transactional relationships, and I do this for you because you do this for me. Like, bro, that's always gonna leave somebody, or both people, empty or betrayed, or feeling like they're not enough. When people feel used, bro, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the authenticity of people vanish. The trust of people vanish, because it's like, I did this for you. What are you gonna do for me? You know what I'm saying? You did this for me. Now I gotta do this for you. And it gets to a point where if you aren't able to, come through on those things, then 9 times out of 10, the relationship or the friendship's over. You know what I'm saying? Like, using people is not good. There's a danger in that for both of the people involved, or for all of the people involved. So if you're looking at people for what they can give you, if they're trying to get to know the people for what they can give you, like, you're never gonna have a real connection. You're never gonna have a genuine connection, or a genuine connection, or a genuine relationship with anybody, bro. Like, you gotta see beyond the surface. You got to see beyond of what a person looks like, or what a person has, or what a person can do. Like, notice their qualities, bro. Get to learn them on a deeper level. Get to understand them on a deeper level. Learn why they do this, learn why they think this way, or learn why they act or react to certain things. Learn their integrity, learn their kindness, their faith. Learn why people tick, rather than just seeing what they can bring to the table, or seeing what they do in their life. Like, understand the souls of people, learn people on a deeper level, and that's how we start to form more genuine connections, especially in today's age. Because, like I said, bro, I feel like there's not that many genuine relationships or genuine connections anymore. A lot of things are, transactional. And, God tells us to love unconditionally. God tells us to love like God loved the church. You know what I'm saying? So we're supposed to love people for who they are. We're supposed to love people in their bad times, their good times, when they're at their lowest, at their highest, not transactionally, not conditionally, not because they're doing this for you or they're doing that for you, but love them, unconditionally, bro. And when you start to do that, you're able to build, lasting relationships or lasting friendships that have a firm foundation. because it's based off a genuine connection. It's based off a genuine love, a genuine respect, rather than the transactional stuff or what they can give you or the conditional stuff. They last longer and they're more genuine because they're built on benefits. They're built on real love. They have a strong foundation. When you value people for their soul, you're aligning yourself with deeper purpose, because those relationships and those friendships become deeper. You know what I'm saying? They're not just surface level. You really understand why a person ticks. You really understand a person for them, and you start to love them for them. Not just what they can give you or what they can bring, to the table. So that's something I've been working on, is just, trying to figure out people, trying to understand people on a different level, not for how they look, not for what they can give or anything like that. And I feel like lust gets in the way of that a lot of times too, because we see people and we're like, wow, like, the thoughts and the temptations start running. Y'all know how that go, bro. But when you start to flee from lust and when you start to get over that, you know what I'm saying, and you start to go to God more in those moments, you really start to see that a lot of people, don't have that much to offer. A lot of people really aren't there mentally, they aren't there spiritually, and that's fine. Like, everybody has their own path, everybody has their own plan, but that's just not what you need right now. You start to realize and you start to see that these people don't bring that much to the table. These people don't have that much to offer, outside of the physical stuff. You know what I'm saying? So just working on it and trying to see people for their soul and see people for, their thoughts and their actions, their standards, their values. Like, that's how you really get to know a person. We got to start going beneath the surface level. You know what I'm saying? Because I know me personally, bro, I don't want others to value me for what I can give or what I can bring to the table. I'd rather a person value me and a person love me for who I am. You know what I'm saying? Authentically, like, not changing or anything, like, just for who I am. Yeah, there's things we can work on, and yeah, there's things we can get better with. But, just a person loving you for who you are and for the ways you think and for what you do, like, that's way better than a person loving you for what you can give or for your money, for your status, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? So you got to start looking at people in that way also. Treat people how you want to be treated, value people how you want to be valued, love people how you want to be loved. That's the golden rule. You know what I'm saying? So you can't just want people to try and understand you or trying to see how your soul works or how your thoughts work, and you're not doing the same. You know what I'm saying? So just look at people for their soul, look at people for their spirit, and not just what they can give you, not just the physical aspect of them or how they look or what they can bring to the table. Start appreciating people's soul, start appreciating why people are the way they are. Start appreciating their presence, their kindness, their spirit, without expecting anything in return. Like, let's try and get away from the transactional relationships or the conditional love, bro. Like, just love people unconditionally. Yeah, choose the right people. I'm not saying love, like, you know what I'm saying, but just love unconditionally, without the transactions and without the conditions. And I promise you, like, your relationships and your friendships are going to start to get better because you actually loving people for them, and not what they can give you or what they can bring to the table. But that'll be all for this video, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you like this video, go hit that sub button with 600 subs. Appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And I'll see you on the next one.